Okay, so today we're talking about race preparation and what goes into racing and how we prepare for how to prepare your body, your mind, and everything so that you can get the best race out of yourself. So, in terms of prepping for a race, we're going to talk about the taper first. So, in going into a taper, um, we already know that your fitness is there. Like we've already done everything in order to get your fitness to 100% that we can prior to a race. Um, at that point, when we know that we have 100% of fitness already achieved, the focus going into a taper is now recovery. You're trying to feel a little bit like when you train your body really hard. Obviously, you're going through hard workouts, you're going through hard stimulus training, and at this point, what you want to do is you want to make the body feel um, kind of recovered and to feel like it's ready for an anticipation of the actual event. Okay, so um, there's stuff you have to prioritize. You want to prioritize your sleeping. In terms of nutrition, you don't want to reduce any of the calories that you intake while you were training. So, like, let's say you have a particular caloric intake during your training, you want to keep that maintained. You don't want to go down in calories because all that food, that extra food that you're having now, is actually going to repair your cells. It's going to make you feel stronger and it's going to make you feel better. So, I noticed that a lot of people do that. It was like they go into a taper and they think to themselves like, oh, I'm not running as much, so I don't have to eat as much, which that's not what the whole point of a taper is. Taper is to make you feel recovered. So the only way to do that is actually to eat as much as you were before. Okay, so kind of hard because like I get close to like 4,000 calories a day, and to do that during a taper, it's like, oh, I feel like I'm eating all the time, but it's good for you. Okay. Now, typically, when we go into a taper, we do a 1 to 2 week taper. What we want to do is it depends on the race, but generally we want to reduce volume and intensity. So we have two things we work on. We work on volume and we work on intensity. And when you're going into a taper, you kind of reduce both of them. But it also depends on the race you're running, because like let's say you have a big volume race, like let's say you're doing a beast, you're doing a marathon, you're doing something that's really long. You actually kind of maintain volume, and what you do is you reduce the intensity because like I said, aerobic stimulus takes a long time to develop, and it goes off really quick. So if you did like 2 weeks of like really easy running, like, oh, I was hitting 80 miles before, and now I'm only gonna do 40 or 50 miles, like your aerobic capacity was full, and now it kind of goes down a little bit, and you're getting ready for a long distance race. So that's not exactly the right scheme to manipulate your training. You actually want to continue to have higher volume going into a high volume race. And, transversely, if you're doing a race that's shorter, you want to reduce your volume and then increase not increase, but maintain intensity. So, like, let's say you're getting ready for a mile time trial. Now you would go from, let's say, 70 miles a week, you're going down to like 35, and you're focused on how fast you can run. Okay. Now, remember, in a taper, it's all about recovery, but at the same time, you also have to think about aspects of like form coordination. So, like, if you're running, like, if you have to run really, really fast, that means you have to coordinate your body in order to move really quickly. You can't lose that going into the race. You have to maintain that. So you would drop your volume and then increase the amount of times that you go really fast. And then that would help you get into the mode of racing into a really fast race. So, like, let's say if you did a taper and you said like, oh, okay, I'm doing a mile time trial, but I'm not going to run very fast for the last 2 weeks. You're going to show up and you're going to feel like, oh my God, this pace is so dang fast. Because like it's like you're going into a different realm of running. you're no longer saying to yourself like, oh, okay, like I can handle this. You're saying, oh, dang, this pace is super fast. I haven't ran like this in a long time. And then you're going to panic, and you don't want to do that. You want to get the body used to exactly what's going to happen in the race. So like right now I'm getting ready for like a long distance, ultra distance race. And all the runs I'm doing, every single run I'm doing, I'm kind of relaxing and running at race pace, but I'm not going anything faster than that. I'm kind of maintaining myself, and I don't want to increase. I'm dropping my volume, but I did 84 miles like last week, and then this week I'll be doing like 70. So it's like my volume's not dropping incredibly, and with the race, my volume's actually going up. So like I'll end up with like 100 and something miles by the time like the whole week is done. Well, yeah, that's the ultra. But like essentially, I'm doing like a 70-mile week, but then all of a sudden I'm throwing in a 62-mile race. So it's like that's a big, that's a huge hit. That's a huge boom to my miles, like right at the end. So, anyways, like when it comes to longer races, you guys just got to know that like you got to maintain that volume. The minute you start dipping down on that volume, you're not going to be accustomed to what's going to happen in the race. You're going to say like, oh, wow, this is really like it's a foreign kind of concept. Or if you focus too much on speed, getting ready for a long distance race, your body's going to be like, oh, wow, I feel really good in the first 3 miles, but then I had no gas like towards the end. And that's what a lot of marathoners do. They say to themselves, like, I'm going to train at 120 miles and I'm going to drop it down to 60. And it's disastrous because they end up going faster during their easy runs. And then they end up running like way too quick at the start. And then they end up blowing up because they don't have that aerobic capacity like topped off.
Okay. Oh, I actually thought of this and it's not in our notes, but you talked to me about it like a year ago, and you were kind of saying it also kind of depends on your body type. Like, how you say like generally for like a big volume race, you do less volume decrease. And then for like a big intensity race, like a 800 or a mile or something, you still maintain intensity, but you drop your volume.
Yeah.
But what about, because we talked about this being like different types of athletes. Like if you're more of a anaerobic muscle fiber athlete, even if you're training for an endurance race, like we consider all Spartans, even sprints, to be like endurance for the most part.
Right.
So even if you're training for an endurance race, what is that's where you start to listen to your own body, and you have to kind of gauge, because some athletes are more prone to doing better with less volume, and some athletes need to maintain the volume and need to, because I think you were telling me, being a more of an anaerobic based athlete, that my aerobic capacity slips quicker. So my endurance muscles slip quicker. So basically what Mark was telling me, I wanted to make sure I got it correct, because I was like, okay, I don't want to
where are you going with this?
I don't want to mess this up, but being that I'm more of a type 2 like muscle fiber, like I'm more of the anaerobic fast twitch muscle. So that body type, even though I've trained myself now more endurance based, is I'm better with my volume maintaining pretty close to what it is like leading into race week. Yeah. Because as soon as I drop my volume, so let's say I'm at 70 miles a week. If I drop my volume to like 40, it hits me hard. Like I feel like I'm like, what the hell? Like, have I even been training? Like I was in such good shape last week, and already this week I feel terrible. So, so you kind of explained that for me, you can drop your volume more because you're more of a,
my aerobic base tends to stay with me for a longer period of time. Athlete. My endurance. Yeah. And it's kind of like, imagine like your aerobic capacity is like a bathtub. And then if you're a endurance, if you're type 1 fibers, you're more of an aerobic based athlete. It's like anytime you stop training, it's like taking a small plug off the drain, and it's like now your tub is slowly draining, but it's draining. And like, let's say if you're more of a sprinting athlete, that plug is huge, and when you take it off, it's just like woof, it's like your water it's gone. So just being aware of that, understanding what kind of athlete you are and what kind of like muscle fibers you have, and what you're more accustomed to. So if you're a more aerobic based athlete, you can kind of maintain it a little bit longer. But if you're like a sprinter type athlete, like the minute you stop doing endurance, it's going to go away really quickly. So being aware of that during your programming and everything, and just letting me know too, like, hey, Mark, remember, like, I'm, you know, I, I like sprinting a lot, so like make sure you like, let's account for that. So just being aware of that, that's a good thing for like new athletes that are coming on. But for most of the people that are on this call are mostly like aerobic based athletes that I've had for a while. So I kind of know how to peek you guys out pretty well. Let me see. Okay, so going into OCR specifically, like working our taper, what does that look like? Basically, where we've landed on is that we want to maintain miles, and we maintain intensity by doing either 1 or 2 intense workouts the week of the race. And those workouts are typically done at race pace. I don't usually have you guys go faster in race pace unless it's going to be like something like strides. And it's short. Yeah, it's like a 100-meter stride or something like that. Or like the race. Yeah. So like it'll typically be like 90 seconds on at race pace is what I like you guys to do. And then it'll be like 3 minutes on at like a tempo pace. And the reason why I have you do that is, like I said, it's for form economy. It's for your efficiency. We've built up this whole, your body all the way to this point. If we don't touch on this stuff, your body's going to feel like it's a foreign concept on race day. So that's like taking too many days off actually is counterproductive because you lose that form economy. So making sure you do your strides and you do all your form work is important leading up to your races. Okay. Let's see. And then what we do in strength training is we reduce the amount of times we do strength. So we only do strength either on Monday or Tuesday, and that's it. And that's just to allow your body to recover from the strength and to prepare your body for what it's about to do in the race. Now, during these times, like when you're training and you're putting in the work, you have to physically, mentally, you have to physically and mentally think about what you're going to do at the race. If you're getting ready for a beast, you have to think like, I'm going to be hurting for a long time. So when we do workouts, that's like, okay, it's a speed workout. And then after that, it's a 5-3-3, and then it's strides. And then it's like, oh my God, this workout just does not end. And the reason why we do that is because you have to prep your body and your mind for what you're going to do on race day. If this is all foreign concepts, like your body's not going to just wake up and say, oh yeah, I'm great at this stuff. It's like, no. Your body's going to be like, what is this? Why are we doing this? And why are we still running? It's been hours already. So mentally, I think Natalie picked this up and she kind of told me about this, and I was like, oh, that's a good little like cue. Like women, when they get ready for pregnancy, they have 9 months to prep, or 10 months to prep on their mentality of what is going to happen. They know they're going to go through an intense amount of pain. They're like, oh my God, this is going to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's going to be so painful. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And they're prepping them, their bodies and their minds are already prepping themselves for what's going to happen. And as athletes, we have to do that as well. So while you're running, you should think about like how the race is going to play out when you're doing repeats. Like think to yourself, like, okay, this is like second mile, and I'm pushing myself, and I know I'm going through like a hurting point, but this is where I make my move. And if this is where I make my move, then I gotta do it right now in training, so I can mentally prepare myself and physically prepare myself to what's going to happen in the race. Okay, so that's just something that I do when I train, and I want you guys to know, like, that's a good thing to do in preparation in your training. And think about that in your taper. It's like, okay, this is just something like I am prepping my mind for what's going to happen in the race. Like Natalie was talking about how like we don't really have time to work on like technical running. It's because we have full-time jobs, we have stuff to do. It's like we don't have the time to go out and find trails and do training for essentially 8 hours and say like, oh yeah, we drove 3 hours to go to a trail to do technical running. You know what I mean? And it's like that is not in the cards for us. But thinking about how your body reacts to the ground and how you feel when you're running, like it's not a full stride. It's like a jarring stride. It's a weird stride. But mentally saying to yourself, like, okay, how did that feel the last time I did a technical course? Well, I know this course is technical. So when I do my visualization, I'm not thinking about like a good flowing stride like I'm on the track. I'm thinking of a choppy, messed up kind of visual scanning stride. And that's going to help you because on race day, you're not going to be like, oh man, this is not what I expected. You're going to be like, oh, this is exactly what I was prepped to do and what I was prepared for. So having your mind in the right space is going to help your body to achieve more than you could on not thinking like that.
You know, and there was so he's kind of transitioning now into the visualization, like the mental preparation. But just one more thing on the taper week, this freaked me out, and it's so funny because I heard like a podcast with Ryan Hall, and I was like, oh shoot, this is exactly what used to freak me out. I just didn't know any better. But during taper week or 2 weeks before the race or 1 week before the race, when you start to see your workouts have like a decreased load, and then Mark puts in there like, oh, go race pace. And you know, before the week of the race, you look at that workout and you're like, oh, sweet. I can't wait for that workout when I'm going to be doing like 90 seconds at race pace. Like, how hard is that, you know? And then you're all pumped about it and you get there and you feel like shit. And you're like, why is this hard? Why does this 90 seconds feel hard? I'm going race. Oh my God. Like you know, it's like Mayday, right? So I heard Ryan Hall talk about it and he was like, no, like this is good. You're supposed to feel like that. And it changes. Sometimes you feel really good on those workouts. Sometimes you feel like a turd out there. And he was like, before Boston Marathon, when he's like set an American record, he ran 2:04. 3 days before the race, he's doing his like 2 mile like pickup at race pace, 2 miles at what he's about to do 26 miles of in 3 days. And he couldn't hold the pace for 2 miles. And he was freaking out a little bit. He was like, what the hell? How the hell am I going to do this in 3 days if I can't even do it for 2 miles today? And it's just, that's the fatigue state. Yeah, you trained up to this and you're peaking, and not like 3 days like off, and the short workout itself, it's not going to be a 12-mile workout. It's only 2 miles. That's all he was doing, 2 miles at race pace. For us, it's like usually Mark will do like about 1.5 miles of our race effort, or including the easy tempo effort, which is like a little bit slower even. And in that sense, it's like it's not a big, huge go to the well workout. So if you're having a day like that where you're like it's not popping and you're not like hitting exactly the pace, just be calm and don't go to the well. That was the rule I learned. You don't go to the well. So Ryan Hall didn't say, I have to hit this pace for 2 miles. He kind of didn't hit the pace and was just like, it is what it is. Got the workout done, kind of calmed himself down. Of course, he had his coach there. But the thing is that, so 2 rules. Number 1, don't panic. Don't say Mayday, Mayday, I'm not ready to race because my body somehow feels like a turd today. And also maybe even let that build your confidence. Like, it's cool. After 3 days, I'm going to be rested up. I'm going to fly on Saturday. And then the other rule to that is don't go to the well for it. Don't think to yourself like, I got to make this happen today. Holy crap. If I don't have this confidence behind me, your confidence should have got from your workouts leading up to the workouts. Like 10 weeks of training, base training or competitive phase leading up to that taper week. You ain't getting anything from your taper. So don't worry if that workout doesn't go like sharp.
Yeah, because like you're doing your whole entire base phase, and then after your base phase, you go into your competitive phase. And at the end of the competitive phase, you are fatigued, you are tired, because we do a lot of speed workouts during that time frame. We're doing 3 speed workouts a week. We're doing a lot of intensity, and we're maintaining miles. That makes your body really pissed off and tired, but also fit. So by the time you're done with that competitive phase, now it's time for your taper phase, and it's like, the first few days, it's not great. Like your taper is going to feel like garbage. And our last intensity run is still within that garbage zone. So that you still have another few days of rest. And then when you race, that's when you feel good. So don't panic about it. It's not a big deal. It's just, you know, something to observe and something to say like, okay, it's not like I'm not clicking the way I want to. I'm not exactly running the way I wanted to, but you know, I will feel good on race day. So it'll be okay.
That we can't overemphasize enough is number 1, like 2 weeks before the race is like, if you really, really, really have any race in mind and you're like, I want to perform that day, just rest, sleep, actual sleep in your bed.
Sleep and nutrition are big.
you know, I mean, that's one that can't be emphasized enough, that the night before the race, a lot of people don't sleep good. So kind of expect that. That's cool. You can go a whole night without sleeping and still run good the next day. But like 2 weeks leading up to it, you're going to be banking some rest. And that's the thing to like probably emphasize the most in your taper week is how much sleep am I getting this whole entire week?
Okay, and then just like some kind of little notes here. Never experiment with anything like dehydration stuff. Like don't dehydrate yourself. Try not to do like saunas and like
diet or
spas and stuff like that. Yeah, like anything like, yeah, you don't want a heat suit. You don't want any of that stuff. Like anything that like depletes you of sweat and all that stuff.
I feel like every single one of you guys, our entire fleet of athletes, would never do that.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
and I would never
say that.
Yeah. If I ever tell you to do that, then something's wrong with me.
Yeah. But if we
call the hospital.
On Instagram, like, you know, like some like, even the athletes I race with or that we race with, elite field and everything, it's like, they'll do like kind of some crazy stuff. There's just a couple things. Like one, like if you're worried about like how you look on race day or something and you want to like diet like a week before or do some kind of calorie cutting or some kind of like crazy sauna suit running or anything like that, it's just like, it's really, that's a no-no. Extremely detrimental. No-no. It's like, it's not good.
Yeah.
No.
Creating a depleted state or fatigue is ridiculous. Don't do that. It's like, you got to make sure if you're going to do any like, if you have sore muscles and you want to do like a magnesium bath or some kind of Epsom salt kind of stuff, you got to do it like 2 weeks prior to racing. You can't do it the week of. So it's like, it is what it is. The week of the race, make sure you have a lot of water and electrolytes, like make sure you're drinking a lot. I would suggest like minimum like 60 ounces of water a day, just to like make sure you are well hydrated prior to the race, and you know, mixing that in with electrolyte, some kind of electrolyte supplement would help, because you know, some people drink too much water, but you know, you want to have good amount of electrolytes, salt, all that stuff. That's good stuff. So don't deplete it.
I feel like we didn't even need to tell you guys that, but I'm like, I don't know.
I just want to make it known that I don't like that. All right. Yeah. So, all right. So we're going to go into mentality right now. When you're going into the race, you want to be as calm as possible. Okay. You don't want to be overexcited. You don't want to be underwhelmed either. You just want to be calm. You want to be nice and just kind of like, you know, just calm about it. All right. You know, you don't want to overthink this. Like the whole point about mentality is, imagine your fitness is like a lemon. Okay. And the race is you trying to squeeze every bit and every single drop of fitness out of yourself. Okay. Like you don't want to just smash it, and you don't want to just not try hard enough. So there's a balance in how you can use your mentality to squeeze every last drop of performance out of your body. Okay. The best thing that I used is like visualization. So I try to imagine how the course is going to be. I try to imagine like how my effort is going to be. And I noticed that like there's two scenarios that can happen when you do visualizations. One, you can imagine yourself running the most perfect race possible. And that's what I like to do when it comes to like track and field and road racing. It works really well if you visualize a very perfect scenario and what's going to happen. And yeah, you just have a beautiful execution. In OCR, however, like you need to have like the best imaginable race, and also imagine kind of the worst imaginable race.
Maybe the worst like situations based on the course map or the weather changes or anything that you can possibly predict that could go wrong.
Yeah.
And this is kind of new. This is something we're kind of bringing to the table like last year, but we didn't get a chance to race last year. And so what happened was Mark is like really, really good at visualization. So good. Like I could tell you stories about college where like we would have to do visualization as a group, like doing team, and Mark would visualize his race, and coach would turn the lights off and everybody had to do their visualization. And Mark would finish within seconds of his finishing time for like, you know, a 10K race the next day. And it was like a cross country course where it was like, how are you going to know like exactly which time is going to be? It's not a track race. It was like cross country where the terrain is varied and grass and this and that. And it was like, he could get it down to seconds of exactly how he would run that course. Now, on the flip side, he took that mentality or that mental preparation he was used to all the way into OCR. And we've been doing OCR pretty seriously for like 5 years now. And Mark was like having trouble, and some races would go perfect and some races would be like, that's not what I visualized at all. Like everything fell apart. And it was like, he had really, really high expectations and had this like good coming into this race really good, and find out that like he ended up doing worse like than he would have done, you know, without the visualization. So this is what our new philosophy is like with obstacle course racing, because something always goes wrong. And it's like, dang, I kind of was like, what happened was after Tahoe's fiasco was one of those things where it's like, it would have been better for me in my race to have visualized failing the obstacles that I originally said you can't fail. In my head, and the night before the race, I said, this is me visualizing going through and hitting that bell and like doing this and that. When those things fell apart and I actually whiffed a bell at the rig, I wish I would have visualized doing my burpees and being like, nope, I'm not letting this ruin me. It ruined me because my visualization was, you can't fail that obstacle. If you fail that obstacle, you're done. And it was like the worst possible thing I could think of. So, you know, this is new. This isn't something we've really like gotten the opportunity to try a whole lot yet, but I can't help but think it's like the perfect idea that you have to visualize an OCR potential areas where things could go wrong and how you're going to get your burpees done and how you're going to get out of it and how you're going to come back. I think it was Ashley Ashley, you ran like one of your winning races where you like came back from actually missing like a pretty important obstacle, right? That whole thing, it happens and people come back from it. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
My best thing that I've ever told all my athletes is you race best when you race happy. Okay. So the night before the race, a lot of people do some like, I don't know, some odd stuff, but I remember one race that I did. It was the Western Regional Cross Country Championships. And me and my teammate had been going head to head every single race. And I had always lost against him. And I was like, oh man, he's just really good. And every time we go head to head, he's always nipping me at the finish line. So the night before the race, I was like, oh man, I don't know if it's going to go well. And I thought to myself, you know what? I just need to relax. I need to have fun and I need to chill out. So me and Natalie, we went to like a little like a gas station. We got ice cream, cookies and cream, and we just started eating it, and we just like laughed, and we started watching movies, having a good time. And the next day is the only race I actually beat him at. And I was like, I won the regional championship, and I was like, oh my God, that was such a huge accomplishment for me. And it was a big day for myself, and Natalie had a great race as well. So you want to be loose about your mentality in racing. You want to feel really strong about your happiness. So if you can hang out with people that make you laugh, be real loose about it, that's the best thing, because this is all fun for us, right? We're all having fun out here. This is why we do this, because we love it. So if we love this, we think it's fun, then we want to have fun prior to the race. Okay. So don't get so serious about it. I think that's been my mistake lately too, with like OCRs. Like I go into the race thinking like, this is going to change like my career, or this is going to be the big one. And it's like, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't matter if it is. I don't care, because tomorrow I'm going to be training anyways. Like it's not going to change my situation. Every day I'm going to be running. Every day I'm going to be training. And I want to be happy about the whole experience. So have fun with it, be happy, and treat this the way it is. It's something that's fun, you know? We picked up something from Ryan Hall again. Like he had some really good comment about this. Be loose about it and think about like what your future self would be telling you about this event that you're about to do. Okay. So mentally, like, think about what your future self would say to yourself right now, saying like, oh, hey, I know you're nervous and I know this is like a big thing for you, but this is going to be a great race. Like, just enjoy it. Just have fun. Just think about, like, just enjoy the moment and think about all the good things that you're about to do, because it's going to be a great experience. You're going to have a great time. And it's like, it takes the pressure off of the performance and puts it more on your enjoyment of what you're about to do. And that's a good, I think that was a good one, because like, you don't want to be too, crazy about it, because like I've had athletes that are like, they're putting out stellar freaking performances on their training, but then when they got to the race, it just didn't materialize. And I was like, what happened? Like, that was a jogging pace for you, and then it became so hard for you to do. And they were like, I just couldn't do it. I knew I should have won. I should have been the winner. And da da da. And I was like, you're putting too much pressure on winning and not getting the most out of your body. Remember that the most important thing about racing is getting the most out of your body. I don't care if you guys, if you go out and you get fourth or fifth or 10th place, but if you got 100% out of your body and you tell me that was the best race I've ever had, I ran hard from the start to the finish, that's going to be more of a victory than anything else, because it's all about incremental improvements. You're not trying to swing for the fences every time we go to race. You're trying to get the ball in play. Like, you're trying to make sure you round those bases. You want to make sure you get something done. You want to progress. And every single one of you is doing that in training. So do it in the races. Progress as a racer. Be a better racer. Be stronger at racing. Okay? And yeah, I mean, I think that's the most important thing. I mean, going into races, thinking to yourself, hey, I'm having a good time. I want to get the most out of my body. I'm going to run strong. Okay. So that's probably the best mental cue you could possibly think of. And then also, like, when you're getting ready for race day, getting yourself psyched up for a situation, like, the adrenaline's already pumping for me. I don't know about you guys, but adrenaline's pumping for me all the time when I get into a race. You want to calm yourself down, get focused, get yourself ready. And remember, it's all about getting 100% out of your body, right? So you want to get 100% out of your body. You can just do a little shake. Like, I like to do like this little stretching routine that I do on the line. And every time I do that, my body's just like, it's go time. Like, it's just like almost like if you watched Seabiscuit, where they like flank the horse on its hind, all of a sudden it just shoots off and takes off. That's how my body is. Like, I do this little stretching routine, and then my body's like, okay, let's go. And then boom, I just take off. So that's like, I've actually had better starts than some like 800-meter runners. And like in the first 50 meters, I'm like, why am I in first? Like, this is crazy. And then they pass me, and I'm like, I'm not that fast. So yeah, it's just getting yourself a routine, getting yourself like a preparation. That's what I do every time I do repeats. Like, when we're on the track, when we're doing repeats, I'm like, okay, this is my routine. And my body's just like, boom, it just takes off. So developing that kind of mentality and physical awareness is important to, getting better at racing, and obviously the more you race, the more you get comfortable about racing. Like, there's some people that only race like twice a year, and I'm like, I don't know how they do that. I like racing a lot, because you get better at it as the year goes on. Okay. About physical preparation. So now we're going into the physical part of preparation. Making sure you have the right amount of nutrition, making sure you have everything packed or laid out the day before the race. You don't want to be scrambling for stuff the day of the race. You want it to be like, I say it like you're the president of the United States. Okay. You wake up, things are done for you. It's like a no-brainer. You don't have to think about it. It's like, oh, I don't think, I just do stuff, because my mentality and my physical presence is needed on the course. Okay. So I don't think about all this stuff. It naturally happens. So I'm not waking up like, where's my where's my shorts and where's my socks and where's my this and where's my that. I already did that the day before. The day before the race, you get to your hotel or you're in your area and you're saying to yourself, okay, there's a weather check. What's the weather going to be like? I need to look at the hour by hour markings of what the weather is going to be like. Okay, I've already prepped for that. I already have my gloves. I already have my shorts. I already have my jersey. I know what I'm going to wear. I have my little tattoos of what I'm going to put on my body. All this stuff is prepped out. And then when you wake up in the morning, you know exactly what to do. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then it creates such a regimented, like, bam, 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 bam. By the time you go to the race, you're just like, all right, now I'm cool. Now I can relax. Now I'm doing my warm up. I know exactly how I'm going to warm up. I know exactly how I'm going to like do my strides, prep my body, get ready, and then get ready to race. Remember, that's why we do training. We train hard because we want to know exactly what we're going to do on race day. Don't change your warm up. Don't go like the worst thing to do is like show up 10 minutes before the damn race and be like, oh, like what's my warm up? Like what am I gonna, oh, just throw something together. It's like your body loves doing the same thing over and over and over. It loves repetition. It loves knowing what's going to happen right now. And if you tell your body, hey, we're doing multiple stride drill. Well, guess what's going to happen right now? And your body's like, oh, damn it, we're going to race. it automatically goes into a shift because it knows that that's the prep before intensity. And if it knows it's the preparation before intensity, your body will automatically start to turn the gears and say, hey, let's start moving some blood right now because we're going to get going and we know it. And then once that starts to happen, then it clicks over. So prepping your body in the training, that's the whole point. That's why we do all this stuff. Making sure you have the right routine as your warm up is so important for race day. So you go into race day and you're like, hey, I'm already ready. I'm prepped. I'm ready to go. I know my routine. I know what's going to happen. I get it done. Now, also when it comes to nutrition, you want to make sure that if you're doing longer distance, duration races, you want to make sure that you are taking in enough calories while you're racing. So having at least 100 calories. I have to take 100 calories every 40 minutes. So making sure you're prepped up, all this stuff, all your gear is in your bags, all this stuff is ready to go. This has to be mapped out prior to the race time. And with every single one of you, I will, help you develop your race kit prior to going into longer distance races, because we need to know exactly how much calories you need to intake and how much you need. Everyone's excited because we have a bulldog in the family, and everyone's like petting it and all excited about him. Oh, I gotta show you guys. He's adorable.
He's not ours.
He's not ours.
He's my brother's.
Yeah.
But we're babysitting.
This is Louis. Yeah. But he's cute. He's a little cute guy. We had him at the gym yesterday. It was good.
Right.
All right. So that is the most important things that you want to do in preparations for a race, for your physical taper, your mind, your mentality, and also your physical equipment and the stuff that you're going to have the day of the race. Okay. So are there any questions on this, or any other just any questions? How's that? Yeah. And think about your own experience. Think about how you feel about racing. Like if you feel too nervous, or you feel that you don't feel like you're not jacked up enough, or if there's a scenario that I didn't really bring up, let me know from you guys. If there's anything that I didn't cover, or anything that might be that I might be able to address.
Hey Mark, yeah, how do you address things like obstacle proficiency when you haven't been on obstacles? So for me, like my biggest mental roadblock is knowing that I haven't been on an obstacle since 2019, and there's only so much grip work you can do before the first race. And no matter how far into 2021 your first race is, doesn't sort of change for me the fact that I've probably lost all the technique that I had at one point. So what would you sort of do if you're in a similar situation?
I would try to find a gym or a park or something like that where I can mimic the obstacles themselves. The reason why is because like technique is important on these obstacles to not lose time. So that's part of the training like application. So when we're getting ready for training, we got to make sure that if that's the case, it's like we go to a park, we find a gym where we can actually do obstacles, and we get that confidence prior to going into like a race taper or something like that. So going into a race taper, you already have the confidence to do all those things. The thing is, like when it comes to physically actually being able to do something, that's different than like a race taper. Because like a race taper is like, okay, now we're going into the last finite little things. But like that scenario, like that, like, okay, I'm not confident on obstacles. That's a different thing. We got to get you confident on obstacles. So that means we got to do like 2 months prior to racing, we got to get ready for that stuff, because those are physical, actual, and you're right, Jason, that those are physically actual like markers where it's like, if you're not able to move your hips and move your body through an obstacle, it's going to cost you a lot of time, because you don't want to be like stiff doing this stuff. It's like, no, if you're like that, then you're not going to be as effective or as fast as you can, and you're not saving energy. So remember, on obstacles, we want to save energy on obstacles. We don't want to use a whole lot of like energy to do an obstacle. We just want to get the obstacle done economically and as quickly as possible. Like I know like the pros don't look exactly exciting when we do obstacles, because it's like, oh, okay, they're just all pretty much doing the same thing. We're a lot more fun if you watch us like after the race, because like we'll like lâcher and do some crazy stuff, and people are like, whoa, why don't you do that in a race? It's like, because it's taxing, it takes a lot of energy. Like I can't do that in a race, because if I do, I would be incredibly tired coming off of a rig. So making sure that you know how to like navigate a rig properly so that you don't waste energy. And I think me and Natalie were talking about doing like an equipment list of equipment you guys could buy like on Amazon and stuff, that like rings and rig stuff and like ball grips and all that stuff, and just so you guys have an idea of like, oh, hey, I could get more equipment and it's not like an incredible amount of money. Like all our stuff costs like, you know, like each piece costs like $10. So it's like, oh yeah, you spend $100 and then all of a sudden you get like a, Spartan quality rig. It's like, it's pretty much worth it. So yeah, I will see if I can set that up for you, Jason, so you can get confident on all your rig stuff. And I set mine up on like a soccer goalpost. So I go to a soccer field, I'll set up a rig on a goalpost, and it's like, oh, there you go. Now I'm confident. So like we will do that prior to the taper. But yes, absolutely. And the thing is, you guys, it's important to identify what you're not confident in. That's important, because it's like identifying where you lack confidence is incredibly important to your performance in the race. So that was great, Jason. Thanks. Any other questions? I think I have one for you guys. Like when you're swinging for the fences, or like, let's say you're going into like, let's say like a series race, and it's like you're going up against the big competition. And this is mostly for Ashley, because she's here. So it's like, she's been putting in some great workouts, phenomenal workouts, where me and Natalie have been looking at her workouts and been like, okay, she's capable of a top 10 finish at a national series race. Okay. The mentality going into it is very much like, you have to be calm about it. Essentially, like, it's not like the mentality is, I'm fighting to get up, as opposed to trying to fight to keep your position. It's a different type of mentality. So most people, like most of the guys that were running in the series in the past, they weren't able to get up to that point, and then all of a sudden they did. And a lot of like I would talk to some of the guys that had really like breakout performances, and for them it was like, well, I knew I was doing well in races, I mean in training, and I knew training was going very well, and then their whole mental kind of space was thinking about just having a great race, having a really great performance, and they weren't even thinking about placing. So like when Natalie got third, it was like her mentality was just run the best race I can run. That's it. If I could do that, I will be more than happy. And she would ended up getting third. And that's the same thing. That's the same mentality I had when I was going into Chicago. I was like, okay, I know I can run well. I know everything's going well in training. Racing has been going pretty good. Just have a really good performance, get out there and be aggressive. And that's the mentality. It's like, you got to go out there and be aggressive. It's not go out there and just like, oh, maybe I'll show up on mile 2. It's like, no. Go out there, be aggressive, because your training has indicated that that's where your performances should be going. So like, always make sure that if you guys are not sure about your race plan or strategy, talk to me about that, because it's important to like meditate on your race strategy prior to like going into your taper. Going into your taper, you want to think about, okay, what's my strategy? How am I going to execute? What am I going to do? And then when you, like I always used to, like when I used to train, when I used to coach in high school, I used to like, we used to clap it up and like right on the line, and I would clap it up and I'd get everyone all pumped up and everything. And I'd be like, yeah, we're going to destroy these guys. Yeah. And everyone's getting all riled up and we're like, oh, and then I'd say, okay, guys, stick to the plan. All right, let's go. And it was because like, I didn't want anybody taking out too hard. I don't want anybody doing crazy stuff. I'm like, you get jacked up, like you want your blood to boil, but always stick to the plan. Run with intensity, run with conviction, but always stick to the plan. If you don't have a plan, that's when things run into problems. I had a marathon that I was getting ready for, and I did not have a plan. My coach was just like, hey, let's just go out there and let's just run, let's just race, let's just see what happens. And I went out there and I raced hard, too hard. I took out in the first 10K at like, I think I came by like 29:30 something. And I was like, wow, that was like 10 seconds off my PR on the track. So little quick. So I was running way too fast. I think we were like, at the time we were holding like marathon world record pace for about like 8 miles. And then I just died. I just freaking hit the wall because I didn't have a plan. My plan should have been hold 5 flat and then just see what happens there. But instead we took out a 440 and I'm like, hey, I feel great, let's go. And then not thinking. So even though like my body was ready, my mentality was ready, everything was prepped, I didn't have a good race plan. So having a good race plan is like essential. It's like, you got to make sure you have the right race plan, or else, you know, you're going to lead yourself into bad situations that could affect your race. So with Ashley, obviously we're talking about like her taking it out at a solid pace, like somewhere around like 550s, and then maintaining that and looking at the people next to her and seeing who's there and saying to her, like making sure that she stays with those people, and then making effective moves when they are hurting or they're not putting out 100% effort. So with racing against series races and stuff like that, it's definitely like an internal race as well as like a mental race with other people. You know, it's like you jump off an obstacle and you take off. It's like that's a mental like hurt to someone else. They're just like, oh man, like that person just took off, and oh, how did they have energy? I'm just dying. And then like 5 seconds later, you guys are going the same pace, but you have a 5-second lead now. And it's like, that's a big difference. And then now they got to catch you. It's either going to catch you or they're just going to give up. So it's like, you know, putting out your best efforts at different time frames to maximize your performance. So yeah, that's how you run series races. if you guys get the chance. Any other questions? Any other thing you guys can think of, or anything you guys? Okay.
I have a question, Mark. So I know you mentioned it's like this confidence kind of thing. I guess, how do you put that into a race? Like, to find that confidence? I know it comes with time as well. But like, I feel like sometimes I'm in that kind of in between where I know that there are some girls that I can hang with, and I know those are my girls, but I want to start hanging out with, hanging onto those faster ladies without feeling like I'm going to blow up, where it's like, I'm not supposed to be there kind of like mentality.
Yeah. Your confidence comes from your fitness. What you put in your workouts, that's where your confidence is driven from. Like, I can't coach you guys to say like, oh, well, like, let's say it's a guy and he's running like 440s for his mile repeats. And then all of a sudden, like he goes into a race and, he takes out at 5 flat. It's like, you should be fine. And the thing about confidence is, it's confidence about the pace. It's confidence about the effort. So when you go into it, like it's sticking on that scenario, the guy goes into it and he's been doing 440 pace, and he goes into a race and all of a sudden they're at 5 flat, but he starts seeing, Ryan Atkins next to him, Ryan Woods, and he's like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I'm up here. Like, what am I doing? Focus on the effort. You're running 5 flat. You're not running fast. You're running at something that's like a 2 mile repeat for you. So you should be confident. It's like, that's where your confidence comes from. You're running, and the thing you're worried about is your effort, your internal effort. Do not look around about everybody else. Don't think about, oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, that's so-and-so. They're worried about themselves. You cannot control their training. You know what I mean? It's like, they could be in the best shape of their life, or they could be in the worst shape of their life. You don't know. You have no clue. You don't know what's going on in their program. You know what's going on with yourself. That's the only thing you know in a race, is how good you are. So focus on that. If you're running with them and you feel like, hey, this is easy. I'm running 5 flat right now. This is not bad. I'm feeling good. Or for you, it's like, hey, I'm running 550 right now. I'm feeling pretty good. I feel like I can hold this the whole race. Guess what? This is going to be one of the best races of your life. You need to keep pushing. Don't hang around with them. It's like, you need to keep running your race and to get 100% out of your body. So you need to say, hey, I'm running good. I'm feeling great. This is my time. I'm going to go for it. And then that's when you go for it. You don't think to yourself like, oh, I'm running with so-and-so. I'm going to stay here because they're good. And I know that they're pretty fit. So I'll stay here and hope I could stay with them. And then they make a move on you on like a carry or something like that. It's like, I know a bunch of guys that try to run with Ryan Atkins, and then right when it's a carry obstacle, they never see him again. So like, I know the only way to beat him is to outrun him from the start. It's like, you got to go out from the start, or else you got no chance, because he's going to catch you. But if you have a lead on him, at least you got a chance to beat him. So you cannot, you can't run head to head with him. If you do, you're going to lose. And for you, it's the same thing. Don't run head to head with anybody. Run your own race. If you feel like the pace is easy, keep pressing. It doesn't matter who they are. You got to press your own pace. And that's where the confidence comes from your workouts. You've been training hard. You've been putting in good times. Just go for it. They will catch you later. That's fine. And then when they do catch you, that's great, because it's going to be after something that they were really good at. And then now it's time for you to stay with them, hang on, push forward. And then that's what's going to get you into the top 10. It's like, you can't hang around with anybody that you think will make the top 10. You have to say to yourself, I have to run the top 10 the way I know how to run top 10. It's going to be different from the way anybody else is going to run top 10, because they're not me. So your running is going to be better than theirs, but they might catch you on other stuff. You don't know. Maybe they won't. Maybe you might surprise yourself and, get a top 5. So it's like, like, see what happens, go for it. Like, take a chance. Like, I think most importantly on any program, any training you guys do, like every time you guys finish your base phase and your competitive phase, and I'm seeing your times and I'm seeing, like, I look at your times over the course of the entire time I've been training you guys. And I am so proud of you guys. Like, when you guys are ready for a competitive phase and you guys are ready for races, I'm excited to see how you guys are going to perform. Okay. And it doesn't matter how you do. It doesn't matter, because like at the end of the day, you're in a better fitness level than you were at the start of the program. Okay. So it might not be this race, it might not be the next race, but gosh damn it, by the third or fourth race, you are going to be running incredibly. So in a typical program, in a typical running program, it takes about 3 to 4 years to finally get like the absolute like best like reaction to the training. Okay. It takes time. It takes a long time for your body to acclimate to the training, to get used to it, to get used to the cycles, to perform well during those cycles. And then when you get there, it's like, it's such an exponential growth. Like at that 3rd to 4 year term, it's like beautiful. It's like you see these performances, and I've seen some of my athletes have great performances. It's like you start seeing these performances and you're just in awe, because it's like you guys are just putting out such great performances. I am proud of every single one of you that does every single workout, that puts in 100%, and know that like there is no pressure ever from me. Okay. Like I don't have any, I have no expectations, but I know that you guys are in different levels of fitness than you were at the start of the program. And every time you guys go out there and you guys put out your best efforts, I am incredibly proud of you guys. And I that's why I love seeing you guys at races and seeing like the smiles after. And it's like, it's a good thing. So go out there, put out great performances, and, try to get 100% out of your body. All right. It's a hard thing to do. It's not easy. I remember like when I was in college, I did it. I kind of went to the well really bad in cross country. I did it twice, once at regionals and once at nationals. And after I did it, after both races, I fell to the ground because I had no energy left. And like, it was like after that race, I thought like, wow, I'll never run like that again. And then like my brother was like, hey, let's do this mile race. And I was like, okay, I'll pace you for a 440. Just like, I'll jump in with you. We'll run a 440 just to get your legs going. And he's like, okay. So we go, and I'm trying to run a 440 with him. And all these guys that are like milers were like, they didn't take out fast. They were running weak. And I was like, why are you guys going so slow? Like, me and my brother were in the lead going like 70s. And I'm like, oh my God, like I did not expect us to be here. This is not my expectation at all. Like, I thought we were going to be like in the middle of a pack or something. And now we're in the front of this race. And I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. And after 800 meters, I was like, okay, we're coming by at 220. And I thought to myself, you know what? Like, these guys are pissing me off so much. I'm just going to go for it. And with 600 to go, I ended up running like a 128 or something like that. And so like, that's like sub 4 minute pace for the last 600. And I finished and I won the race, and I beat guys that were like faster milers than me. And I kind of realized that like that mentality that I had for the other race kind of carried over. Like I still was able to dig that deep, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. And then 2 weeks later, I ended up running my mile PR, which is like a 412. So it's like, and then after that, the next race, like I was so focused on the times and all this stuff that like, I wasn't focused on the effort anymore. I was focused on other things, and I wasn't able to run the 412 for the rest of the year. So, and that was like an early race, so I shouldn't have run fast, but my mentality was so ingrained in just giving 110% that like I was able to get the most out of my body. And I didn't realize that at the time, that like the mental aspect of this game is so big. It's such a huge component that if you can like use your mentality to drive your performance, you will get way more out of your body than like being so focused on like, oh yeah, I got to do this, I got to do that, da, da, da. It's like, no, like getting yourself ready, like if you're going to war, like you're going to battle, like this is it. Like that's where you want your mind. So yeah, I think that's the best advice I could give, I guess. Like your mind is very powerful. You can do a lot with your mentality. And if you guys focus hard and learn to train your mind like you trained your bodies, then you can get a lot out of your performances just by having confidence in what you're able to do. All right. All right, guys. Any more questions? All right, I guess that's it. I'm glad everyone was here today. I'm glad you guys were able to be a part of this talk. Yeah, if you guys need to have any more questions or anything like that, I'm always available. You guys can call or text at any time. Enjoy Super Bowl or the big game. And that's it. Good talking to everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Good luck on your ultra.
Thanks.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. It's going to be fun. I hope.